Honestly, that's what I lean my hat on every day. You don't have to motivate me to get in the gym and work on my game. That just naturally
Good stuff. You
happens.
got to play for Frank Martin over at UMass, Final Four coach. What was playing for him like? What's been the one thing that's really made you successful at SF Austin? Would you consider him more of an offensive-minded head coach or a defensive-minded head coach? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm here with guard from Stephen F. Austin, Keon Thompson. Keon, you're averaging 17.9 points per game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and you're one of the best players in the Southland Conference this year. You guys are in first place in the Southland, the 2-game lead over McNeese. Thank you for taking the time to be here. How we doing?
Fine to you. I'm doing well myself.
Good. You guys had a good win against Lamar, continue to be in first place. Congratulations.
Appreciate that.
Now, Keon, you're from Indiana. You scored 2,000 points in high school. You're obviously a scorer, a scoring guard. What do people get wrong about scoring guards like yourself and other ones around the country?
I feel like when it comes to scoring, I feel like it just depends on who you're talking to. Obviously, scores can be at whether the 1 through 5, in any type of way. For me specifically, especially in my position, you have guys who specifically focus solely on scoring the ball more than facilitating, or they might have other guys around them that can do that as well. For me, and you also have other guys who are pass first guys, but can score the basketball very well. I feel like for me, I just kind of flow. I've said this in a lot of interviews. I kind of just play basketball. I try to keep my pace throughout the game. I just, let the game come to me, whether that's getting my teammates involved early, scoring the ball early, It really just all depends how the game is going for me. And honestly, I can do both at a very high level.
Now, did you learn to be a scoring guard first and then bring in the assist because your assist numbers are great too. Did you bring in that later in your game as you got into college or later in high school? Or were you always a passer first and then you developed into an even better scorer?
The roles I was in starting in high school, I was more like a glue guy type of person. You have other guys that can score the ball at a high level or distribute and everything. So it kind of left me in like more of a glue guy type of area. As time went on, obviously with more consistency, more hard work, obviously with opportunity show, I've gotten better as a scorer. Obviously, I've always worked on that behind the scenes, when nobody was looking. And obviously, my first 2 years was more like the passer, the facilitator, because we had in my past, I had like guys like Matt Cross, Sewell Diggins, I had Josh Cohen. I had a lot of guys that can really like score the basketball on their own. And, it was my job to really get those guys their shots. Well, if the time needed me to be a scorer, I can do that as well. So.
Your points per game have obviously jumped from 13.5 last year to 17.9 this year. Did your coach ask you in the offseason, like, we need you to be more of a scorer this year?
It really just came with, just me being myself, honestly, being aggressive, and that's what this team needs you to be, all out aggressive, whether that's, looking for your shot or just looking for others, getting downhill, creating plays in general. Obviously, just being aggressive and just being who I am and just being a basketball player and, playing off those instincts.
It's worked out very well for you. You're a great player.
Thank you.
Growing up in Indiana, do you believe you stood out as a basketball player and that made college a little bit easier? Because Indiana is kind of the mecca of basketball in general, if you would. Do you think being in the state of Indiana helped you develop?
I feel like in this generation, I feel like a lot of especially kids that get people my age kind of forget, about the history of Indiana. I mean, I feel like a lot of our history is more older. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
A lot of kids my age and obviously younger, the ball is like mixtapes. You got New York guys, Florida guys, the Carolinas, John Wall. and all those great mixtape guys. They
Mhm.
kind of get mixed up in that. So for me, I've always told people, we have a great history in our state. We have big gyms, huge gyms. Gyms are about the size of college arenas. So honestly, for me, I mean, our history is a lot older, so I can kind of understand why people kind of forget about it and everything like that. So, I mean, you kind of got to explain to people what our history is like.
That makes sense. Did you you go to a big high school with a big gym?
Uh, when it comes to
Medium
our
size?
area, it was an all right size. It
Okay.
was all right.
Okay. Bigger or smaller than Stephen F. Austin's arena?
I'll say smaller.
Smaller? Okay.
Mhm.
What's the biggest thing that people get wrong about Indiana basketball? You mentioned the history and how it's like an older history, but what do you think the biggest thing that people get wrong about it is?
The players. I feel like they
Mm,
underestimate the players there. We probably don't have like as much mixtape guys or anything, but in terms
mm.
of basketball players like Larry Birds or just Glenn Robinsons and everything like that, I feel like guys kind of get mixed up in that kind of conversation, in terms of just being a basketball player and everything.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So you guys you make the argument that Indiana basketball players are real basketball players and they don't go for more highlights and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, obviously, yeah, like
Okay.
there's guys that have highlights and everything, but it's just
Right.
the in terms of like a John Wall mixtape or
Mm.
Zion Williamson, like crazy mixtapes like that. I mean, obviously those are gonna shine more than just ordinary like basketball plays and everything like that. So
That's
I
fair.
mean,
I would agree with that.
mhm.
Now, out of high school, you scored 2,000 points in high school. Great high school career for yourself. You attended UMass out of high school. What were your other options, and what ultimately led you to UMass? Were they your only D1 offer? Did you have other options? Talk about your
uh,
recruiting.
I had interest out of high school, so I went to Maryville for like 3 years. I had interest
Mhm.
there. Then I went to prep to military school.
Mm.
Um, I had interest. To be honest, I only took two visits out of my entire 4 years.
What was
So
the
for
other
me,
visit?
SFA.
Mm.
So for me, I feel like for me, the reason I went there is more so for coaching staff and like the connection that they had and everything. For what they showed me on my visit there and just our conversations. They played a lot of the role right there, and like just their play style and everything like that. So honestly, I had interest, I had all offers and everything like that, but at the time, I feel like it was the best fit.
Makes sense. Now you mentioned the coaching staff. You got to play for Frank Martin over at UMass, Final Four coach. What was playing for him like?
Intense. It was very intense. I like the guy. I have a lot of respect for Frank. Obviously, um, when it comes to him, it comes with a lot. Obviously, not
Mm.
everyone can play for him, but it was also a good experience to obviously learn underneath him and like his coaching style and things like that. Because I feel like a lot of people forget or they don't see the other side of Frank that as a player you see is the guy is a very he especially with me he's a very jokey type of guy. He always jokes around with me all the time. So it was great to be around him. In that 2 year span, and obviously I enjoyed every moment that I've been there.
One of the biggest things that stands out to me about Frank is it seems like he wants nothing but the best for every player he has, and he just wants to be great young men.
That's true. A lot of the times that I was with him, he always talked about the journey to all
Mm.
of us, and all the bumps and all the bumpy roads and adversity that you got to go through in life. On and off the court. You have to take care of your business, and I kind of took that in consideration moving on in life.
It's a good lessons. Now you
Mhm.
transferred to Stephen F. Austin, which you're currently at. When you enter the transfer portal, what's the biggest thing that the average person doesn't understand about the portal that only an individual like you or other basketball players truly understand?
Mm, it's a process. It could be a stressful process at times. You don't know where you're gonna land at. You don't know what's gonna be open to you or anything like that. Your sole think about being in the portal is because you just want to be in another situation. You want to be in a better situation. Um, there's a lot of uncertainty, but as a good player, you have to just have a positive mindset when it comes to all those things. You can't really get stuck in, the what ifs or whatnot. You just gotta kind of flow through the process and everything. Just hope for the best.
Now, when you entered the portal, did you get feedback and calls on day one, or did you have to wait a little bit? What was your portal experience like in that sense?
I got calls. I got calls day one, and and the next day is over. Until I committed it. But I got calls every day. I got messages or whatnot. I heard from other teams, and it was honestly a stressful process for me. Honestly, I had to take a trip, to see family, to really just take my mind off everything, and um, it was a stressful experience, but it was also a blissful one as well. So I'm not really resentful about it or anything.
Right. I mean, it sounds like you've made a really good home out there in Texas, and you're having a great year because of it.
Hmm.
Now, Stephen F. Austin is, I'm going to butcher this city, in Nacogdoches. Is that pronounced?
Like
How do you pronounce that?
Snackadocious.
Nacogdoches. It's in Nacogdoches, Texas. Describes, for someone who will probably never go to Nacogdoches, describe that to someone.
Middle of nowhere, um, country. Um,
Are you country
it,
at all?
nah, I'm
No.
like I'm up north. I'm a city guy. I'm more of a
Fair.
city, small town guy. But um, that's Nacogdoches for you. Honestly, it's quiet. It's quiet. It's not really a loud. It's not really a not loud town at all or anything like that.
Mhm.
It's more of a quiet. It's more of like a really quiet country town.
Probably great. Probably the people out there really love their basketball at SF Austin.
They do.
Yeah,
Honestly.
I can see that. What's the biggest difference between Nacogdoches and Amherst, where you were at UMass?
Amherst was more live and outgoing. It's
Hmm.
more obviously it's a way more people out there than it is here.
Right.
It's school itself was carry like 30,000 plus kids. Um, the culture was way different for me. Obviously, all those it was really no country out there. But I feel like it was more. It was just more people. It was more. Um, I don't know. It was just more live. It was like
Mm.
it was more outgoing. The culture was much different than what it is here. That it gave more like a city type culture because you have different people from like New York, Boston. You also have your international students as well, since we were on the coastline and everything like that. So,
Mm.
so I feel like it was a much different experience, especially for college wise and everything.
That makes sense. What about Amherst, Nacogdoches compared to your hometown of Indiana? What do you miss most about Indiana that you don't have in Texas?
I'll say food. I feel like certain food spots I miss the most. I eat the same thing every day. I eat Chipotle, and you know, I might eat Panda Express or something on the healthier side of things. But in terms of food spots like Culver's, Five Guys, there's like just multiple places at home that I miss more. Obviously, in terms of just like the home itself, I'm fine where I'm at. I have
Mm.
family down here.
Oh,
I do
nice.
like Texas. I can't stand the cold. That's probably something I don't like the most. I
That's
hate the
fair.
cold.
Can you see yourself staying in Texas after basketball?
Um, that's one of the states that I would want to live in. My number one's Florida. I love Florida. I
Okay.
stayed there for a year. Um, I have no complaints with Florida at all.
What
Not
part
at
of
all.
Florida?
I stayed near the 20 minutes outside Orlando. So
Okay,
like
yeah,
somewhere around the Orlando area, I can see myself in like later down the
yeah,
line.
yeah. I
But
go to Tampa a lot, and I agree with you. It's a cool place.
I do like Tampa. Tampa's really
Yeah.
nice.
Now, you had a game yesterday against Lamar. You guys won by 10. And as I've watched other stuff with you, the biggest thing that jumps out to me on the film is your ability to read ball screens. And not only read them, but adjust to them. Where did you learn how to do that? Because it's a very unique skill in itself. Did you learn it playing under Frank, playing under your current coach, Coach Matt Bauer? Or where did you learn this unique skill set?
Obviously, like as I began to like work out and really, work on those type of things, starting in high school, especially when I start having the ball in my hands more, I start to get more of a feel of what to do in certain situations. But a lot of that has grown when I got to UMass, obviously, because we emphasize ball screens a lot, especially the little details, setting your man up, hiding behind ball screens, score ties, and everything. That's when I really start learning more of the details and the little aspects of like taking advantage of every situation possible. And obviously, as time goes on, obviously you start to mentally improve on those things. With the more you play, the more situations you are in those. But overall, I mean, this is the best I've played in a ball screen. Obviously, junior year was pretty fine, but what helps with that is just the personnel I have around me. I feel like it also helps better with all those things. When you have a lot of shooters and myself who loves to get downhill, play in the mid range area, it kind of helps. It makes the job or makes the reads a lot easier since everyone can't really help off. It's more like a 2-on-2 game than anything.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah, you mentioned the details of a ball screen. You're really good at adjusting your screener and telling him on the fly, like, no, you need to be more of a flat screen, more of an adjust the leg here and there. Did your coach kind of teach you those details and like being more of a floor general that way versus just going off the screen and making something happen from there?
The screen itself, it comes with experience. Obviously, it comes from just playing multiple games. It's more like a feel thing. Like our last opponents, they did a lot of icing. Obviously, it was either we play more so in the middle third where they can't ice as much towards the sideline, or flip the ball screen. Kind of make hit the guard and then snake towards the middle.
Yep.
And those are just a few reads, obviously, but all that comes with just constantly being in those situations and all those things. And eventually, you'll get better. Obviously, you're gonna make mistakes. That's part of it. But as long as you know that you built that confidence of improving those things, great things come out of it.
Right. And for anyone listening, icing is when they force you to one side and force the defender's upper leg, so they make you stay on one side. So then, like you said, snaking is crossing over, going back towards the middle of the floor. Just so everyone listening is like, what the hell is icing? What's been the one thing that's really made you successful at SF Austin? Is it just your ability to just get in the gym, work with your teammates? Do you guys have a stellar weight program that has increased your athleticism? What's been the one thing that you think has helped you at SF Austin?
I mean, really just my confidence, just my confidence of just playing basketball. Not only that, our coaching staff and, and the rest of our guys as well, they helped me a lot to just get me to where I am today. Obviously I put in the work on my own and, every single day, and, my confidence comes through that. But at the end of the day, without Coach Breyer's schemes and, our personnel that we have on this team, none of that really doesn't matter. I don't know if we'll be the same team if we didn't have the personnel or the schemes that we do run. Obviously, it comes with consistency. Honestly, that's what I lean my hat on every day. I'm never – you don't have to motivate me to get in the gym and work on my game. That just naturally happens. For me, relying on my guys who also work on their game as well, just as much as I do, seeing them in the gym on off days and everything like that, that mentally puts that gives me confidence to believe that they're going to do what they need to do, to help us be successful. And, obviously with the coaching staff as well, doing their jobs, scheming against other teams and, giving us the game plan and the schemes that we got to do against this team, it also helps all of us as well. So honestly, I feel like it's just a big organization type of thing.
That makes sense. Now, with Coach Bauer, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly.
You said it right the first time.
Bauer. What does he teach really well that's kind of underrated that you would that would be underrated versus other coaches?
Coach Breyer he's a young coach, so like I feel like a lot of the guys already can have a connection with him. More so because he's like us. He's been through a college atmosphere at Wichita State. He's been through what we're going through right now. So I feel like the understanding that he has already coming into it's already, we automatically have a connection, obviously, with someone who's already been through the mud and, been through the hard times like what we're going through. So I feel like him understanding us in that ways, it's already a plus for us as a player, and, his vision for us, he doesn't really yell at us or anything like that. Some guys in this generation, and not saying everyone, but like some guys got to coach them differently than others. And, he understands that as well. I feel like he holds everyone accountable in a way that he's never going to be mad at you offensively, but defensively, that's where a lot of the energy has to come from. You have to, those are where championships are made of, defense, rebounds. So, and then just go out and play basketball, go off your instincts. I can give you the schemes, but you have to be a basketball player at the end of the day. So honestly, him having the vision of us being a championship team and having that belief of the guys that he recruited, that as a player, that helps you a lot, especially with a season like this. It's long, it's stressful at times, and it's very competitive. So, having that as your head coach, I feel like that helps a lot for a lot of players.
Would you consider him more of an offensive-minded head coach or a defensive-minded head coach?
No, he's defense.
100% defense?
Our coaching staff is really good, especially like when it comes to offensive things. Some of the things that we run, I feels like it gives me like a gun running type of offense. But his main energy, the most he stresses about is more defense and rebounding more than anything. And then the offense is always going to take care of itself. He never stresses about offense.
I feel like that's a newer theme in coaches nowadays versus maybe 15 years ago. They more hard-headed about their offense and back then, and now they're easygoing as long as you're willing to play defense at a high level and give maximum effort. Now, like I said before, you have been through the portal. What do you think needs to change about the portal?
I only been in it once, so I don't really have an answer. What needs to change? I'm not sure, honestly. Like, guys go in the portal for different things.
Right.
Whether that's to get out of the situation, to go search for a better one, whether that's money, whether that's playing time. I can't really tell you what really would change it because everyone's reasons for going in is much different from the other person. So honestly, it just all depends on the person that's going into it personally.
Makes perfect sense. Now, I'm assuming you watch a lot of NBA basketball, like most people do, most people who play the game. What NBA player would you love to play one-on-one?
No, I'd just say Bron because he's my favorite player of all time.
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
If you were able to play one-on-one, what would the score be?
He's a little old now, but he is 6'9". So I don't know. I'm just gonna say 11-10 just because I'm just confident in myself. But
nothing wrong with that. You gotta be. Do you look up to any NBA players? Try to model your game after certain NBA players? Are there other people in your life that you look up to?
Are we talking about in terms of life or just basketball?
Everything. Life, if there's an individual that you only look up to in life or just basketball, I'd love to hear it.
Basketball wise, I mean, I kind of have like a Jalen Brunson type of build, like a small
Mm.
guard, but more stocky.
Hmm.
Um, I realize with a lot of his matchups, it's rarely a time where a point guard is really on him his size, but
Mm.
it's usually a bigger guard or a wing guarding him, and that's been the thing with me all year is it's usually a wing guarding me more than anything.
Mm.
Um, the type of pace that some of these smaller guards play, like he's irky jerky. I'm athletic. I'm very athletic as
Hmm.
well. Um, the pace is really good as well, and he
Hmm.
posts us up a lot, and so that's something that we do as well. There's some plays where I do get the ball in the post, and I just make reads from there, or I just play 1-on-1. So I feel like that's the closest person I could really think of. In terms of life, I mean, I take a piece of. There's just like I don't really have a set person, but
Okay.
I try to take a piece from everyone, whether that's
Mm.
my parents, my sister, coaches I've always been under. I kind of just take that along with me during like on the journey of life. I don't really have a set person to go to for advice or anything. It's more so just what I've learned over the course of time and leading up to moments like this.
Makes sense. You take a little bit of piece from there, piece from here, kind of group it all together. That's smart.
Hmm.
You mentioned the footwork and the posting up of Jalen Brunson. Does your coaching staff go through a lot of post work stuff with your guards, not just your bigs?
It's more so the bigs.
Mm.
I don't know what everyone because I do have a trainer. I'm
Hmm.
on the coaching staff. Obviously, we have guys who you have some assistant coaches that work with the bigs, some assistant coaches work with the guards and the
Hmm.
shooters. And so for me, I mean, it just all depends. A lot of mine is pick and roll, catch and shoot threes, shooting. And, there's obviously times where we'll work on post ups and dribble downs and things like that. So it just all depends on, the day, how I'm feeling, everything.
That makes sense. If you weren't playing basketball, what do you think you'd be doing? What do you think you'd be going to school? Do you think you'd be going to school for something else? What would your life be like without basketball?
Probably football. Probably the next
Football,
sport.
really? Did you
I
play
do.
in high school?
I didn't play not one lick of football, but I already
Hmm.
know like if I'm not gonna play basketball, I might as well play football. Then
You got to
that's
play some sport.
yeah, and I have the body for it. I've been hearing it all my life, so honestly, for me, it's nothing now.
That's fair. What's next for you, Keon? Are you going to try to play professionally? You're going to just try to go into workforce after basketball's over? What's next?
Professionally,
Hmm.
it's always been a dream of mine to play professional basketball. Obviously the NBA is obviously a goal of mine,
Hmm.
but at this point, especially when you get older, you start to really see, you know, some situations the way they are and everything like that. For me, I'm at this point, I'm just trying to be in the best situation as I possibly can be. So, and what fits me the best. So I'm just waiting for that opportunity at this point.
Right. Yeah. I definitely think you can do that. Are you going to try G League first and then Europe? Just kind of
Uh,
whatever falls.
whatever the opportunity presents itself.
That's fair. So, as we wrap up, Keon, we have a tradition on this interview series that I'm doing that I ask every athlete to ask the next question to the next athlete that I interview. The last guy that I interviewed was a wide receiver for North Texas named Cam Dorner. He asks about campus life. Athletes their schedules are very different. They have a lot of online classes. So he's wondering, what is your on campus experience like at SF Austin?
To be honest, I can't even tell you because for me, a lot of my classes are online.
Right.
And I might have one or two classes on campus, but
Mhm.
after those classes, I'm never on campus.
Mm.
I just be in my
Just
crib and everything.
stay in the gym.
Hmm. Pretty much.
So, what would your question be to the next athlete that I interview?
Uh, I'll say what the culture is like, from a
Okay.
college perspective, especially with sports. Um, everybody doesn't have the Purdue culture, the Kansas culture, like when it comes to basketball or just sports in general. I'm just curious on what the culture is like in terms of a
Okay.
sports aspect.
What is the culture like at SF Austin?
I feel like that's one thing that we're trying to work at to get back to, especially in the past years. The one that really sticks out to me the most was 2016. Everyone's
Turnaround.
everyone's packing the gym at 8 in the morning. The team is winning, and they got the chance to go to March Madness. We're trying to work to that. Right now, it's kind of on the lower end of that. If we're going to compare those years, but we're working on it. We're on a good track.
Yeah, I mean, you're well on your way to win the Southland and get a March Madness bid. Well, Keon, is there anything else you'd like the viewers to know about you before we sign off?
I'm a quiet person, especially when you first get to know me. I'm very quiet, but once you get to know me, I'm a very confident, humble, and hardworking person at the end of the day. And I tend to open up when I'm comfortable around people.
I can definitely see that. Well, again, you're having a great year. I hope you keep it up. Looks like you guys will win the Southland. I'm rooting for you guys. Until next time, thanks for being here, Keon.
Appreciate it.